Welcome back to the Encore Audio YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. My first group that I ever recorded was Under Earners Anonymous. A friend of mine, Frank Brigiotti, who's on my channel, he passed away some time ago. He had some kind of cancer, but Frank was a great guy. He wanted to try to change my name from Taper Dave to Digital Dave. I've still got the shirt, the South Bay Roundup shirt, in my closet that he had embroidered Digital Dave. But he asked me if I wouldn't mind recording this group, Under Earners Anonymous, and I said, sure, I'll record anything anonymous. So here you go. Enjoy, comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe, whatever you do. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. That helps me out a lot. Doesn't cost you a thing. Just click on the like button. You have a good day if you want to. Take care.
Yes? Okay, great. Hi everyone, my name is Johnathan. I'm recovering from compulsive under-earning. Welcome to the UA Prosperity AliExpress meeting of Under Earners Anonymous. May we please have a moment of silence followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Under Earners Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from compulsive under-earning. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop under-earning. There are no dues or fees. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. UA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stop compulsive under-earning one day at a time and to help other under-earners do the same. Now, our program is based on the belief that the foundation of change and recovery from compulsive under-earning is to be found in working the 12 steps and abiding by 12 traditions first developed by Alcoholics Anonymous. Could someone kindly please care to read the 12 steps, please?
Just a little housekeeping. I took it upon myself to open the doors. There's some air in there. Do we want to leave both doors open, or is it going to be too noisy, or food conscience?
Where's the sound?
Too close.
Okay. Okay. Let's do a quick vote. Okay. Who say we keep the doors open? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who say we close the doors? Okay, we have a majority. Okay, that's fine. All right. So we at least close one door? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Be helpful. Yes.
I think we voted to close. Right, we voted. Yeah, we'll vote.
Okay. So they're going to close doors first.
Hi, I'm Sage. Hi, Sage. Hi. The 12 steps of Under Earners Anonymous. 1. We admitted we were powerless over under-earning, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7. Humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to compulsive under-earners and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Would someone kindly please read the symptoms? Who would like to read the symptoms of under-earning?
The symptoms of under-earning. 1, time indifference. We put off what must be done and do not use our time to support our own vision and further our own goals. Idea deflection. We compulsively reject ideas that could enlarge our lives or careers and increase our profitability. Compulsive need to prove. Although we have demonstrated competence in our jobs or business, we are driven by a need to reprove our worth and value. Clinging to useless possessions. We hold on to possessions that no longer serve our needs, such as threadbare clothing or broken appliances. Exertion, exhaustion. We habitually overwork, become exhausted, then underwork or cease work completely. Giving away our time. We compulsively volunteer for various causes or give away our services without charge when there is no clear benefit. Undervaluing and underpricing. We undervalue our abilities and services and fear asking for increases in compensation or for what the market will bear. Isolation. We choose to work alone when it might serve us better to have co-workers, associates, or employees. Physical ailments. Sometimes, out of fear of being larger or exposed, we experience physical ailments. Misplaced guilt or shame. We feel uneasy when asking for or being given what we need or what we are owed. Not following up. We do not follow up on opportunities, leads, or jobs that could be profitable for us. We begin many projects and tasks but often do not complete them. Stability, boredom. We create unnecessary conflict with coworkers, supervisors, and clients, generating problems that result in financial distress.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will some care to actually maybe help carry, okay, this? Thank you. For now, let me do the share. For now, I'm good. Let me do the share. Okay. Awesome. Great. Well, this specific session of the meeting deals with the topic of addiction has no boundaries and arresting parallel addictions. Once again, hi everyone, I'm Johnathan, a recovering under-earner. Great. My story actually of under-earning and under-being started at a very, very early age. I was actually 10 years old. Actually, even before that. My father decided, when I was 3 to just basically bail out from the marriage. And he walked away. I remember getting a phone call from my mom getting a phone call from a friend. And not knowing what was going on, we were in a taxi cab, literally just whizzing to the airport. And as a 3-year-old, the last memories I had of my father was him walking up the stairwells of Pan Am, and me just screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, where are you? Where are you?" And him barely looking back. And I didn't see him for another good 16 years. It was obviously traumatic, the whole thing of abandonment. But one of the things, I look back in hindsight is a lot of us are in the programs because of trauma. And it could be the trauma of a divorce, the trauma of separation, it could be addiction, whatever, or a parent who was an alcoholic. Well, a second trauma happened at the age of 10 is my mother basically got a job as working for the United Nations. And she was what we would call, one of those workaholic parents. I basically became a latchkey kid. And she not being there to offering much protection, at a very young age of 10, I was sexually molested. I had so much shame over that I never told my mother. As a matter of fact, I told no one about what had happened because it had happened repeatedly. And I basically, at that point, went into my own cave. Because my impression of the world was, this is a world not to be trusted. Someone who kid, like a parent who was supposed to take care of me, could not do that. So I'm going to basically take care of myself, and I went into survivor mode. Now, the interesting thing is, when it comes to work ethic, I had been prior to that a fairly good student, but then the under-being and the under-earner kicked in big time in school. I remember one incident in which I had developed a lot of resentments towards this one chemistry teacher. And really, I basically decided, I'm not going to do our work, As a matter of fact, I remember in a test, deliberately leaving all the answers blank and walking out basically towards the teacher with defiance and throwing literally the paper on the table. I thought it was cool. But that was just the beginning of the insanity. As things progressed, I decided to come to the States when I was 16. And I got to meet my father, and thereby began what you call a major love-hate relationship. And the resentments, whatever resentments I may have had as a result, just kicked into a huge notch because my father was also another workaholic. Being a parent was not really a big priority for him. And so, that being said, I did go on, to a good school, good four-year college, Cal and what have you. But frankly, the grades I got were not as a result of character, because I'd never developed that. It was as a result of ego and anger towards him. My accomplishments, whatever they may have been, were just fueled by just resentment. Now, my addictions at that time in college basically kind of went back and forth, and it was very interesting in hindsight. As I was off my medication, so to speak, my work ethic will improve, but when I was back, medicating, so to speak, to numb whatever the pain, it's like paralysis. Absolute numbness. Sometimes, I remember for my final, and they talk about exhaustion in the program. I remember that those last 2 years just feverishly working my butt off, but then crashing in my last final months, as a senior. And the way I crashed, and this was definitely my underbeing, is I literally slept through a final. And sure enough, I got an F in that class, I think it was a D and what have you. But you know what? Here's what was scary. I had absolutely no clue what was fueling that. How many of you guys have sometimes been in that dilemma? You know what I'm saying? I had no clue. I just got, I need to just exert more will and so forth, I had no concept of God at the time. I was an agnostic. I was always in a very, very secular school where, you debated anything that had to do with God, you know what I'm saying? So I kept on, I moved down south, and I worked for a Fortune 500 company for a couple of years. And, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I knew how to BS my way through the job. I would show up, work half-heartedly and what have you, but, I never gave my all. And I remember finally after 2 years, because I realized that I was not being paid very much, and I had this whole idea of grandiosity, It's like, wait a second, I need to move into another job, another company. And so I remember the last month or two going, okay, I need to leave with a bang. And sure enough, I just worked hard, and ended up number one, in sales and what have you. But my entire career was all about up and down, up and down, up and down. This year, consistency bored me. People who were consistent, my ego was like, these guys have no talent, you know what I'm saying? So they have to like work feverishly at the stuff over and over again, you know? I had the John McEnroe syndrome. Specifically, it's like, hey, you know, I don't need to work much at my craft and what have you. I mean, I was defying every single UA principle and so forth. I became an entrepreneur, okay? I always had that knack. And I remember going, okay, to an auction and buying these 13 televisions, probably, okay, for like $5. And then basically upselling them around $120, $130, and I marketed them, okay, to the international students on campus because I figured that they would probably want, you know, to learn the language through some televisions. And I was very successful. I mean, they sold, okay, fast, boom, 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 you know? But here's where, okay, the under-earner is. As successful as it was, did I ever think of replicating that? No. Absolutely, I didn't. I go, okay, next to the next one. I started buying cars, you know. I bought a car, made $1,000 or $1,500, okay, a pop, you know what I'm saying? Did I think, okay, of replicating the success? No. I got bored. I moved down here and I basically figured, let me get into a real estate foreclosure stuff. And I went through this awesome training, was great stuff, and I was working at a time with a very, very famous real estate investor here who specialized in foreclosures. You know, and so I actually surprisingly put together her whole system, and I literally was able to secure and find this property that in essence was probably at the time valued, it was abandoned, but it was valued approximately at the time around $180,000. It was vacant. So I figured, need some fixer-ups here. I located the owners who had left. One of the spouses that had been separated was local. I met with her, negotiated a deal where she quick-claimed it, okay, the deal over to me and granted the grand deed and what have you for a measly, okay, like $500, all under contract. And all I had to do was to fax that contract over to this real estate investor. We had done the calculations with basically the appraisal, the work to fix her up and everything, and split 50-50. I will have grossed, all right, or netted around $85,000 on that deal. Do you think I actually faxed in that contract? No. Fear, paralysis. I had no clue what this disease was at the time, and I just kept repeating and so forth. You know, it's horrible. You know? So, you know, that's what the disease does, you know, and all of us, okay, can all relate, you know, to times where we had this $1 million idea and so forth. So, to make the story short, around 1996, I really, you know, God was really make me aware that your self-will gone awry is going to cost you. I was in 3 accidents back to back. One was almost fatal. And I remember, okay, on the third one, being in hospital all by myself and praying to God and going, God, if you do exist, please, I will give my life over to you. And I did. You know, I became a Christian and what have you. And I remember for 3 years letting go completely of my addiction. I met my wife, we got married, we started a business together, and unfortunately things went chaotic. We were not able to have a child together. And so the resentment kicked back. She was angry towards me, I was angry back at her, and sure enough, my addiction came in. And I basically at that point said, screw it, you know? And I think things got worse and worse and worse. At the height, the company was grossing a good $500,000, or very close to that. The addiction started kicking in, and whatever work ethic I had was gone, completely gone. And my bottom was a year ago. And specifically, I crashed in my primary program, and I was at my will's end, and I said, I need God desperately, because I hadn't completely surrendered to Him. My will was still trying to control areas of business. I was clueless that God should be at the center of business or finances. It was the one area that I felt I could still control. And I got into the relationship program, you know, with the 12 steps, and I'm so grateful. As a result of the recovery, my wife and I were able, actually I did go for a whole year separation, so you know, prior to that crash, an entire year. I was ready to divorce her as of January of this year. But I'm so grateful to God and the 12 steps because we were able to get back together. As a result of this recovery, I went into DA. Now here's the challenge. With those years and years of compulsive debting, I had amassed over a good probably $85,000, $90,000 worth of debt. And it was approximately, at the same time at the bottom of my addiction that I really experienced the worst that this disease can do. I remember getting this check from a client for $11,000. It was 2 months worth of expenses. I kicked back for 2 months in incredible depression, staying in bed for hours and hours and hours, wanting to kill myself and what have you. This stuff, will kill. This stuff, will render us homeless if we don't treat it with the spiritual tools, without a doubt. I'm so grateful again, as what I shared, because of through the recovery and getting to learn about DA. It was around 4 or 5 months ago that I finally, someone slipped me in a DA program, the URL, for the underearnersanonymous.org. And I went on and I looked at the symptoms, and I go, check, 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 every 12 one of them. Everyone. I'm what you would call a compulsive under-earner. But I'm so grateful for this program. I am so grateful for this because, as a result of getting a sponsor, and that's the key. She has over 4 or 5 years working the tools, going to meetings, being of service, and what have you. What used to be my MO for work, which was pain, resentment, and anger, is now replaced. And this is something that is miraculous. It's a miracle. It's being replaced by, finally, not just an enthusiasm to work and show up, but also an eagerness.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
I'd never experienced that in my life. And I'm so grateful, to this program. And I just know without a doubt, for people out there who are suffering from this, there are spiritual solutions. And this program can help. Just briefly to wrap up, a week ago, I completed my half marathon, on Sunday. And that one day was about being willing to take the courage, even though my training was not 100%, but just show up and get the job done, you know what I'm saying? But what was neat, was my wife was with me also. A year ago, I participated, and she was not in the picture. We were separated. The 12 steps work, UA works, but above all, guys, God is the source of the transformation. Thanks for letting me share. Great, thank you. At this point, we will observe the 7th tradition. UA has no dues or fees. We are self-supporting through our own contributions, but we do have expenses. For the dissemination of UA literature, the maintenance of its website, and costs incurred by the General Service Board. Please give what you can, but you can give nothing for now. Keep coming back, but keep coming back because you're much more important than your money. Are there any UA-related announcements?
I think there's a Sunday meeting. I don't exactly know the time. I believe it's at 2:30 at the Robertson Center, and it's a really nice center. And I heard that it needed support, but I'm not exactly sure what time it is. Let's see. Does anyone know the time of the
There's
Sunday?
flyers on the table.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I just support. I'm currently recovering under earner. There is a Tuesday night meeting in Culver City at Claire Foundation on Washington Boulevard at 7:30. It's really scarce, and he showed up by himself. I've gone a couple of times, so it really needs some support. It's a step meetings. Steps and traditions.
Yeah, my name's Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
For anyone who doesn't know, we have about 44 meetings a week on the phone, dealing with everything from body, selling with serenity, under-earning in our business, under-earning in step work. So if you can't get to a face meeting, literally we have 5 to 6 meetings a day.
Thank you.
In the San Francisco Bay Area, there is an in-person business under-earners meeting in Berkeley, Monday night, 7:30, and if you want details, ask me.
Any other announcements?
Hi, I'm Chuck. I just wanted to know if someone would like to be the microphone and phone meeting steward, like I was for the previous meeting. Anyone willing to do that? Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Well, we have approximately a good 10 to 15 minutes. Who here would like to be the spiritual time? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Great. Well, it's now time for share time. And that being said, who would like to begin sharing?
Hi, Diane, recovering under-earner and debtor. You can, thanks. Maybe sit, yeah. Thank you so much for your share. Quite a few things that you said resonated. The early trauma is absolutely critical. My early trauma was I was born out of wedlock to a single mother and who won't tell me who my father was, so it was very traumatic for her. So I was not supposed to be here. And that feeling permeated my mother's womb. That feeling permeated me coming out of her womb, and that permeated the beginning of my life. And I became aware of that as an issue because of my recovery in the program and becoming aware of like the real core feelings. And this sense of not supposed to be here has, and it manifests in very real ways where I end up in places where I am literally told you're not supposed to be here. And I am supposed to be there. And so, I move into a place and the guy next door is crazy and is obsessing with getting me to move out and just like literally crazy. And people saying, why don't you move? And I'm like, and that's when I really was like, no, I'm supposed to be here. He needs to move if he can't handle it. And I had to stand up for myself. So in this program, I've learned to stand up and say, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to manifest myself. But that feeling has permeated my under-earning. And my recovery has been about the acceptance of, like, I'm here. I mean, there's parts of me like, why am I on this planet? I'm supposed to be in another world that's way better than this world. And that's been a real core belief of mine. So I've had to learn the value of being here and the value of, like, committing myself to being here and the value of having something of value to not just be here and like, okay, I'll be here, I'll get a job, but like that I have something to offer here. And actually that's why I'm here. So that's been the trajectory of my recovery. So I really appreciated you saying that and talking about that. And, so and now I publish a magazine where I get to really not just be here, but be in my community and be connected to my community and express my ideas in that community and have to deal with people being upset and some people loving me and some people being upset. And that's coming out of the closet because I think we want to be loved and liked about everything all the time. And when we put ourselves out there, we're going to have to deal with some rejection or not being liked. So I have had to learn how to deal with that. And I love the saying in the program, your thoughts about me are none of my business. And that saying has really helped me. So one day I'll get somebody who's really angry at me, and the next day I'll get somebody who's like so grateful for what I do. And both are just people's opinions. And what's important is for me to be able to step up and be true to myself and have principles and ideals that I manifest. And that's what I've learned to do in this program. Thank goodness for this program. Is that my time? Yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nabushe, gratefully recovering under-earner. Thank you so much, Johnathan, for your qualification. It was really wonderful. it was very honest, and it's so important for me to hear that honesty coming from a man. And just the recovery, I loved hearing that you and your wife are coming back together. I remembered hearing, I think last year or whatever it was, that it, so for me, abundance and earning happens in more ways than just financially, and to hear about the trauma is so important, because I was having a discussion about how being in recovery, so many of us have suffered from so many different kinds of trauma, and a lot of it for me being disassociated and not in my body, and wanting to be in my body. But I also related to, like, when I first started acting, I worked and didn't get a job for 5 years. I'm never gonna work, and then of course I get the first movie I get in, it's like this big old movie I'm starring in, and then it's the next movie I'm starring in, and not knowing how to deal with that and that kind of visibility, and then forget it after I was starring in the #1 movie in the country. Well, I really had to destroy that, or those kind of relationships. And then when it came the producer who was like, we're going to the Oscars with this film, that didn't happen because, I don't know why it didn't. And that film did go to the Oscars, and the person who the character was written and I had helped develop that, did go. And they won it. And now, as I, look at going back out there, and I think about like a big movie that's coming out now, and the producers had me do the table read, and one more minute. The first time he asked me to do the table read, I did it, and I kind of was a little flippant and like, well, if you're not going to offer me the job right now, and so I was a little flippant. But this time I went in there more humbled, and I still got asked to do the table read. And I guess where I have to see the gratitude is that, the writer of the book from 20 years ago was there. The producer was there. The head of the studio was there. But I'm like, but Whoopi Goldberg's doing my role. You know what I mean? And, but I am humbled. Whoopi Goldberg is visible. It's about being visible. All of those actors who are in there are visible right now. I'm in my under-earning, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be too hard on myself, because I will say that, like I said, by doing my 8th step in my UA program, my 8th step is when I became aware of my, it was my 8th step. I became aware of being sexually molested at 4 months. And now I've done that work, I've been released from therapy, and I can go ahead and get back on it, I can get back on it. Thank you.
My name is Elatris, I'm an under-earner. And I want to thank you, Johnathan, for sharing. And I want to say about the topic about how the disease parallels or something, because I have recovery in other programs, although this is my second UA meeting. And this one seems like really the solution for me right now. At 14, I lost my virginity in a second-story garage filling station on a wool blanket for $4 from my biological father. So that was under-earning right there. Putting a price on something so valuable, so bad, and seeing how I've undervalued my services and myself my entire life, being selected the most outstanding all-around business student in my senior class by the teachers, and getting an invitation to go to Washington, D.C. Out of high school to work, and going, and that same biological father pulling me out of Washington, D.C., to succeed. Just so many things, that I'm able, I believe, through this program to free myself and go after what I want, because I have a lot of, I've started a new career, as I stated in a previous group, and the worst question that anybody can ask me is, are you working? I freeze and want to fight when they ask me that. And I want to get past that, so that I can talk about what I do for a living. I guess that might be the visibility. But anyway, I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much for letting me share.
Hi, I'm Kira. I'm an under-earner. And so many things are just hitting home. The visibility factor, the trauma, arresting addictions, and I grew up in an alcoholic home, so I never had that sense of, I wasn't yelled at by my father, or my mother would yell, but it was just this neglect and feeling invisible and just never validated. My brother would constantly, he'd get criticized by my father, so my brother would then turn around and criticize me, and I could never, ever, ever do anything that was enough to be okay, and I was just always less than. And then my parents went through bankruptcy when I was about 10 and didn't tell us, it's just everything disappeared. We had a wonderful house and life and everything, and it just went poof, and no explanation. And then I started wanting to do everything. I wanted to rebel, and I wanted to yell at my parents, and I wanted to do drugs and drink and have sex, like starting at 12, so that's what I started doing. And then by the time I was 14, I had a sexually abusive boyfriend for 2 years that used to yell at me every day, and I walked out of that just an absolute wreck. And the addictions of food addiction, just having to constantly fill, they take up my life with, I can't focus on earning and being, because I'm doing all these behaviors to run away from this deep, deep wound and the post-traumatic stress disorder and my brain overloading and just trying to function, the depression, the anxiety around it all, the self-hate, the no self-esteem. It's like just being with people and being like, I hate myself, I'm such a loser. And it's like this constant dialogue. And I recognize that that's so much where the underbeing is, because there's no room. I'm like, how am I, I'd go to practice singing, and I'm like feeling like I'm going to die inside and throw up, and like this, it's really hard to excel. So I recognize, as I'm getting older, it's like, oh, well, where my obsessive thinking around wanting to prove to males that I'm worthy. I'll choose one, it's always an addict, and I'm looking for approval, and it's obsessive, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Just stop. It's just with me. It's like this image of this person existing in my head is with me every moment of every day, and I'm constantly trying to prove myself to something that doesn't exist. It's insane. And I'm like, how do I stop this? What's wrong with me? And that's an addiction. It's a thought addiction. And it's trying to eat or fill or whatever. It takes up time and planning and all this stuff that I gotta do. And I'm not getting to my art. I'm not getting to my earning. I'm not getting to my being because of all this stuff. And it's arresting the internal insanity and just even becoming aware, but also being kind with myself and going, wow, I went through some shit. And then I married an alcoholic when I was 22 who used to yell at me every day and spend all my money and just do insane things. And I'm like, well, there's a reason. It makes sense. So forgive myself, but you gotta stop all that behavior so I can expand and grow and just turn it over to God. So thank you.
Great. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for sharing. I'd like to thank everyone who shared, and thank you so much for keeping time and for doing the readings. And for all of you, okay, thank you very much for letting me be of service. In closing, the opinions expressed here today are strictly those of the individuals who gave them. The things that you have heard here are spoken in confidence and should be treated as confidential. We do not take outside the meeting who we hear at the meeting. If you're here If you try to absorb what you've heard, you're bound to gain a better understanding of the way to handle your problems and begin to change your life. Please talk to each other. Reason things out with someone else. Let there be no gossip or criticism of one another, but only love, understanding, and companionship. And I would like to please join me in the Serenity Prayer.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.